82 and 83. Ms. Harden.
Thank you. 82, again, is case number NPA 2023-0030.01 SH, located at 711 Eberhart. And item 83 on your agenda is case number C14-2023-0007.SH, also located at 711 Eberhart. The neighborhood plan amendment request is from neighborhood node to mixed-use activity hub corridor, and the rezoning request is from LRNP, neighborhood commercial neighborhood plan, to GRMUVCONP, which is community commercial mixed-use, vertical mixed-use, conditional overlay neighborhood plan. The proposed rezoning area is 1.65 acres and is currently developed with 27 multifamily units. It is located approximately 150 feet west of the intersection of South First Street and Eberhart Lane, with its only access from Eberhart Lane. This property is certified by Smart Housing, and the applicant is planning to submit an affordability unlocked application and proposes to build a 180-unit multifamily rental development with the applicable affordability levels. Public transit is located within a quarter mile of the property, and there are 2 Capital Metro bus stops on South First Street, as well as available bicycle lanes on Eberhart Lane. Staff is recommending the applicant's request of GRMUVCONP zoning for the subject property based on the following conditions. We're recommending the rezoning and the neighborhood plan amendment, and the following conditions apply. The community commercial mixed use GRMU is appropriate due to its location just west of the intersection of South First Street and Eberhart Lane. The South First Street is designated as an Imagine Austin corridor. Potential commercial uses would be available to serve residents of the proposed future development and surrounding area, as well as the wider community. Transit options such as 2 Capital Metro bus stops and bicycle lanes are available, and there are existing GRMU properties located directly to the north and the east, as well as GRMUV property that is northeast of the proposed development. So I'm available for questions. The applicant, Leah Bojo, will be presenting. We also have speakers in opposition. And after that, we have me available and other staff from other departments if there are questions.
Thank you, Ms. Harden. Anybody have any questions? All right, members, the way we'll proceed on this item is the applicant will have 5 minutes to make a presentation. Then I will ask a representative of those in opposition to make a presentation for 5 minutes. Then we will have those in favor will be allowed to speak at 2 minutes apiece, and then those in opposition at 2 minutes apiece. Whoever is the 5-minute representative will have already spoken, and then we will allow for close before we take up the matter. So you have 5 minutes to make your presentation.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm Leah Bojo here on behalf of the applicant. I will try to be efficient with your time here, since Ms. Harden has already described a lot of the site. This is the location that we're talking about, just to orient everyone. Southwest corner of Eberhart and South First, just about 1 property off of the intersection, just north of William Cannon Drive. And then if you zoom in just a little closer, you can see this is a 1.65 acre site. It currently has a legally non-conforming 27-unit apartment complex on it, circa 1972. That is nearing the end of its life cycle, and so we are looking toward redeveloping with a new multifamily project and with conforming zoning. As Ms. Harden said, this is just off a high-frequency transit corridor, an excellent location for transit. Here we have a zoning map. You can see the GR nearby on both the north and the east sides, and you can also see the change to the future land use map to the side, going to mixed-use activity hub. Here's the list of uses that we've agreed to prohibit via the conditional overlay. There are no prohibited uses today with the zoning, but we have agreed to this sort of standard list, of course, of things that people probably don't want to see on the site. To give you some details about the project, we're talking about a maximum 180-unit project here. We are planning on affordability unlocked. So you can see here, if we did the full 180 units, what the breakout would look like: 36 units at 50% MFI, 54 units at 60% MFI, and the other half at market. In addition to this affordability that comes with Affordability Unlocked, we have worked through some protections for the tenants. This is going beyond what the tenant relocation ordinance would require, and we have a private restrictive covenant that signed already by both parties that puts all of these things into effect. to make sure that those tenants that are there today, we've met with them as well and communicated with them multiple times, understand what's happening, what the timeline is, and what they can expect at that time. So there are a couple issues that have come up with the neighborhood, and so I just wanted to kind of give you an overview of those. One of them, probably the biggest one we've heard a lot about, has been drainage. So as I know you all hear a lot, drainage is generally a site plan issue. It is not a zoning issue. However, given how much we've heard about it, we went ahead and did our drainage analysis, or did sort of the early phases of it now, so that we could talk about it in an informed way. So this is what the drainage looks like on the site today. You can see in the hatched area that that's the developable area on the site. So in addition to this showing where water is flowing right now, it is flowing across the site, as you can see from the north, kind of across the site. There's a drainage easement that's about 25 feet wide on the southern property line. It is undersized. There is no detention on the site today because this property was developed in the 70s before those requirements were in place. So what we know from this is that when we get to site plan, we will have to submit this, of course. We will have to detain the water that's flowing onto the site, and we will have to convey the water through the site through probably a 50-foot drainage easement on that southern property line. So, that will be put in place, obviously, at site plan, but it gave us and the neighborhood a little bit better idea of what we can expect. And then the sort of second part of what that easement provides is a bigger setback for the building, because of course the building has to be set back from where that drainage easement will be. So we're talking about probably a 50-foot wide setback from the building from the southern property line where the drainage would convey. And with that, I can answer any questions you have. As Ms. Harden mentioned, staff is in support. We also were able to get Planning Commission support of this case. There were a few other questions about other things I'm happy to answer, but I wanted to at least address drainage. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Bojo, for speaking. I have a series of questions, but one of them that the neighbors have expressed to me is the potential impacts of flooding in the area, and you talked about it briefly, but was there any other specifics that you want to add to?
About flooding? Mm-hmm. This area is not in the actual floodplain, and I'm not an engineer, so I can't really get into the details of it, but it's not in the floodplain, but there is water flowing through the site. So obviously code requires that all the water be detained and conveyed. And so we would have to do all of those things. I would say to you that what we have heard repeatedly from our consultant team is because there's no detention on the site today, while this project is not going to solve all of the problems in the area, it is certainly going to make them better, because the water is currently flowing without any detention across our site. And after we redevelop it with this project, there will be detention on the site. So it will be an improvement from what's there today.
Good deal. And are you planning on including any buffers or fences to address the height and privacy concerns that the neighborhood has raised?
We will have a fence. I believe a 6-foot opaque fence is what's required, and that is what we would do. We are also open to a vegetative buffer along that property line. We have to make sure we're careful about how that works with the drainage easement. Obviously, we don't want it to block any conveyance, but our team has told us that we can put a vegetative buffer in that easement area.
And can you speak to the restrictive covenant with home base to ensure there are protections and support for existing tenants?
Absolutely. So we know that Affordability Unlocked provides excellent, probably some of the best protections there are for the future tenants that will live there in the redeveloped project. And we have the tenant relocation ordinance, which provides notice, of course, to people. I think it's 120 days for a multifamily project. But what we have found in talking to folks about a lot of zoning cases, and this one as well, is that there are additional things we can do to make people feel more comfortable and sort of ease the transition for them. So I can kind of quickly talk you through that list. What we have put in that covenant, which I have a copy of here if anyone would like to see, is no leases will be broken. Moving allowance and administrative fees will be paid. There's a right to return, so anybody who moves away and wants to come back into either an affordable or a market rate unit when it's redeveloped gets first shot at that. We have a 180-day notice of demolition as opposed to 120. We have capped rent increases at 10% per year. For the next 3 years. We're expecting the demolition to probably be in 2025, summer of 2025, but we put a little buffer on that just to make sure in case things get delayed. We will be, this is kind of one of my favorite ones actually, we have found there are organizations that will come out and meet with the tenants if they would like, to let them know about other affordable units, programs that are available, things like that. So we will have those folks when we get to the point where we're closer to demolition, we'll have those people come out and let people know what their options are and what kind of services are available. Sometimes people don't even realize what they have available to them. And then we will be issuing, of course, ability to break lease once the demo permit is filed without any repercussion. If someone finds a spot within 6 months of the demo, they can just go. And then full refund of security and pet deposits once the demo permit is filed. And then last 3 months of rent waived for anybody who's still in the complex at that point before demolition actually occurs.
Thank you. No further questions.
Further questions? All right, we'll hear from the representative in opposition. You'll have an equal 5 minutes to state your case, and then we will go to those in favor and then those opposed.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. My name is Ben Thompson. I'm the president of the Armadillo Park Neighborhood Association. I just want to be very upfront. You're aware there's a valid petition on this case, and to my knowledge, there is not one single neighbor who supports the proposal in front of you today. Despite our best efforts, the efforts of staff and the applicant, there have been plenty of meetings, but there has been nothing presented to us that does anything to significantly assuage our concerns about this development moving forward. A lot of people have their own particular opinions about if that building needs to be preserved forever or if some redevelopment is appropriate, but most of us recognize the fact that the site can handle more than 27 units. The question is 180 units and 5 stories tall in this particular location appropriate for this particular site? Just a little background on our neighborhood. It's a small neighborhood, small houses, people of modest means, retirees, young couples, people new to town, people who live their whole lives here. When I moved in, we had an H-E-B that we could walk to. Now that's an auto parts store. It's the 4th auto parts store that we can walk to, which I hope the irony of which is not lost on anyone. We have existing affordable homes of every size and shape throughout the neighborhood. We have apartment complexes, 2 stories tall, 3 stories tall. We have new buildings that have come in without objection that have frankly improved the lives of our community and the city at large. And we recognize that some types of development are absolutely appropriate and needed. This is just not one of them. There's no shortage of undeveloped and underutilized commercial sites and other sites near this one that should be given priority when it comes to dense residential development, but also mixed-use development, which we were also lacking. This project sticks out in a few very unique and important ways. First of all, it's everybody's who lives nearby's opinion that a 5-story building is not appropriate on this site. Despite its proximity to a transportation corridor, South 1st Street, Stastny, William Cannon, this is not on those streets. It's back inside the neighborhood. It has rows of single-story small residences on 2 sides. Every one of those people is opposed to having this next to them. Not something new next to them, but this next to them. The concerns about the height of the building are going to impact privacy. We've heard about 6-foot fences and vegetative buffers. That's a good start. But before anybody can get behind this in the neighborhood and actually support it and get excited about it, which they should have the opportunity to do, we need to have some of those details, despite us being prior to site plan review, actually presented in some amount of specificity that everybody can be comfortable that this is something that is going to improve all of our lives. Not to mention airflow, sunlight, heat and noise both of construction and just the reality of 27 people being replaced with 180 potentially. Related to the height is just, again, the number of people and the existing infrastructure's ability to handle this number of residents given the current state of events here. I'm noticing I had an exhibit I was hoping could be put up already. Did we miss that? Sorry, whatever. So this street, Eberhart Lane, it's a cut-through street during afternoon rush hour. It's a dangerous road to cross currently because you have southbound traffic on South 1st Street, runs into the various lights at William Cannon. Everybody's in a rush to get home. They cut through Eberhart, which turns into Cooper Lane and gets them over to William Cannon faster. not blaming anybody who chooses to do that, except for the people who frankly drive way too fast down that road. We've been told we're not eligible for various traffic calming there. Another frustration, not the applicant's problem, but an existing infrastructure deficiency that needs to be addressed by the city and by this council before we can come in saying, oh yeah, we can handle this. We want this in our neighborhood. Let's address the problems we have now, either before approving these types of rezonings or in the course of the redevelopment process, including zoning and site plan review. This facility, or this complex, 180 units. I think the idea is that not everyone will have cars.
Thank you, sir. I'll ask the clerk to please call those people that have signed up to speak in favor of this item first.
There are no speakers in favor.
All right, then please call those speakers in opposition, and they will be given 2 minutes apiece.
Twilla Dawn Willis, Jackie Goodman, and Janice Morgan. If your name has been called, please approach the podium and state your name.
Hello.
All right, come on forward. And
I'm Twyla Willis, and I'm opposed to this project for all of the reasons that Ben has expressed. What we're really hoping is
I'm
just
sorry
to
to
have...
interrupt you. Stop the clock. Were your names called to speak?
We're
supporting her.
supporting.
Then we under our rules, we don't do that, so
Okay.
I apologize.
They didn't understand how to get a slot.
Fair enough. We just don't.
All the rules are changed.
Well.
Okay, so anyway,
they're
we'll
really
move
not,
on.
but I hear you. Okay.
So anyway, what we would really like is the brakes to be put on this so that these concerns can be addressed before we say, yay, we want a 7-story building next to my 1,000 square foot house that I worked my tail off to pay for. And so the concerns of the traffic, the concerns of the environmental things that will happen with the wind, the sun, all of that, I'm just basically reiterating what Ben Thompson said, that can we just hold up here and please take a look at how this is going to affect our neighborhood before it is approved. We know something's going to happen there. We just want it to be part of our community. Do I have more time in my 2 minutes? I don't know what else to say other than, whoa, please.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate all of you being here. We just try to do that as a matter of decorum. You had called Jackie Goodman, Janice Morgan, and one other, I think.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Well,
Oh,
I do. Hang on. What is it you need to do?
Pass along a message from Ms. Goodman.
She sent us, or at least sent me a long email this morning. So
Okay, well, she's fallen ill, and that was just all of the.
I've known her a long time.
That's the only reason.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Could you call the names again?
Sure. Twilla Dawn Willis, Janice Morgan, Jackie Goodman, and Ben Thompson, which have all spoken.
All right. Thank you very much. Mr. Thompson, you'll have 2 minutes to close, and then we'll go to the applicant for 2 minutes to close.
He was hoping to be here today, but she's sick.
See her.
So anyway, I'm going to just pick up kind of where I left off. The biggest issue is the flooding. We're very appreciative of the work that the applicant has put in to identify the need for this drainage easement. But we also feel that there's a bigger question here that needs to be addressed by the city. Yes, we're outside of the floodplain. People in that blue area, I had the map that I was hoping to show you that Ms. Bojo put up showing the number of houses that are projected to be underwater during flood events currently. This has nothing to do with anything the applicant has done, but we need to fix this problem before we continue to permit new development in this area. So my real closing During one of the meetings, someone pointed out that I made some point. I don't even remember what it exactly was. But the response was, yeah, you're making good points there, but that same issue exists all over the city. This isn't a unique situation. My response, if I remember correctly, was actually, well, this is a little bit different. I think we were talking about the traffic on Eberhard, the speeding. That issue is not unique to our neighborhood, but it doesn't apply to every zoning case and every traffic study. It's a very problematic thing. And so the response was something, I didn't get the response I wanted, but an acknowledgement that, hey, you are making a point here, and we're sorry that the city is not in a position to address that. But it got me thinking something else makes this case different. When we talk about zoning, when we talk about the process of notification, of public involvement, of not just neighborhoods, but people, residents, getting what they need from this process. Some get what they need and others don't. We're in a neighborhood that has not been getting what we need from this process.
Thank you very much. You'll have 2 minutes to close.
Thank you. I'll be quick. I just want to say that this project is not only going to provide much needed housing in a very transit supportive location, a 5-minute walk from frequent bus service that exists there today. But I also want to point out that as Mr. Thompson said, drainage is their biggest concern, and this will actually help that situation. It will not solve the entire area's drainage issues, but it is going to make things a bit better. And I would summarize or end by saying that Austin cannot wait for transit supportive housing. I think we need it today. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, without objection, we will close the public hearing on item number 82. I will entertain a motion with regard to item 82 and 83. Members, on item number 83, we have a valid petition. And let me, for purpose of clarity for the public, what a valid petition does is it creates a right so that what it does is that right allows for the changing of the number of votes required to pass a rezoning ordinance, and it changes it from 6 votes, which is a simple majority, to 9 votes. A valid petition exists when the city receives written protests from 20% or more of the landowners who own the property being rezoned or own property within 200 feet of a property being rezoned. If City Council approves a rezoning case by 9 votes, the property is rezoned. If the council only approves a rezoning case by 6 votes, 6 to 9, but less than 9, you got to have at least 6 to pass it anyway. But at least 6 votes, but less than 9 votes, the rezoning case must come back to council for additional action. With that explanation, I'll entertain a motion. Councilmember Fuentes moves approval of items 82 and 83. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember Vela. Discussion. Councilmember Fuentes.
Councilor Alter, did you have questions on that?
But it's your district. Please go ahead.
Colleagues, first I want to thank our District 2 community for being here today and for expressing your concerns on this development. Certainly, I know that there is a larger issue at play here, and that is ensuring that the infrastructure is built out in our community as our city continues to grow. What we know about this development is that it will move us closer to our strategic housing goals, which, colleagues, as a reminder, is for us to build 60,000 affordable housing units. And with this project, it is an affordability unlocked project, which will get us 36 units at 50% MFI and 54 units at 60% MFI. This program, Affordability Unlock, also requires a bedroom mix, so we're ensuring that these are not just studios or one-bedroom units, that we are also ensuring that we are accommodating families. And one thing that was really important to me was to ensure that we are honoring our tenant relocation ordinance, which the applicant has spoken to how they are going to exceed the tenant relocation ordinance to ensure that for the individuals who are there currently, that they have a right to return and that there are appropriate accommodations being made. My office organized several meetings with our neighbors, with city staff, and the applicant to go over their concerns. The overarching concern that we heard today was that we need to make infrastructure improvements in the area, in particular, improvements to existing traffic and flooding infrastructure. Although this single development did not trigger a traffic impact analysis because it will not generate enough trips that would trigger the traffic impact analysis, there is more development coming to the area, which will ultimately have an impact on traffic and safety in the neighborhood. I wanted to list out some of the improvements that are in the works to be made in the area over the coming year. We will expect to see, actually wrapped up by the end of this year, and that's starting with the resurfacing of the road. We're going to see new pedestrian crossings, bike lanes, and stops will be coming to Eberhart Lane. Eberhart and Cooper Lane are also on the list to receive traffic calming treatments. But to be clear, right now, the community is suffering from localized flooding, as was mentioned earlier. And as the applicant has shared, there is improvements that will be made to the drainage infrastructure in the area. And staff is also working on a stream restoration project along Turtle Creek. So although there are some projects in the works to improve the infrastructure, there continues to be a larger need. There is a desire among residents to develop a more holistic planning approach to the development in the area, of which I fully support. And I want to say for the record that these issues are bigger than any single land development case. We've heard frustration from our neighbors about the scope of the zoning decisions and the level of detail available at the time of zoning versus later in the site planning process. I understand that our planning staff is taking a hard look at these processes as a result of a recent audit of development services. And for me, it is important that as we have developers and applicants come before council on a zoning case, and particularly on a zoning case in my district, it is my expectation that the developer and their applicant will be working with our neighbors to actively address concerns that are raised during the rezoning process. That is the process we have currently. I do think we as a city need to be doing a lot more on planning. We've made significant strides on planning, but the expectation is there. And I know throughout this process, concerns that were addressed, and thank you to the applicant for doing the flood study so that we were able to have that information on the front end. But overall, we need to improve our city processes. So I'll continue to work with city staff with ways we can work on these issues, on improvements moving forward. Colleagues, I will be supporting this rezoning case today.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Allison Alter.
Thank you. I had a question for staff, Ms. Harden, maybe, or whoever the appropriate person. I just wanted to understand if there had been a neighborhood request for postponement before for this item.
No, there has not. This is the first time this has appeared on the council agenda. There were a few postponements. No, there were 4. I don't know if they're all by the neighborhood, but there were postponements at commission, but not at council.
Okay, but we're not aware if those were by the neighborhood at commission.
Postpone. Okay, so it appears they were staff postponements.
Okay, thank you. So I want to, first acknowledge the very hard work that my colleague, Councilmember Fuentes, has put into this particular zoning case. And I think this is development on a corridor, likely in an appropriate place. I am, however, uncomfortable with a valid petition moving forward on all 3 readings. I would be comfortable supporting first reading, so I'll be abstaining on this motion. I do think that the multiple reading process is one that we've moved a little bit away from recently, and I think it is important to allow the neighbors to have some of those conversations with the developers. I'm unable to say at this point if they've had those or not, and my colleague would know better, but I'm going to be abstaining on the third 3 reading motion today.
Thank you, Councilmember. Any further discussion? The motion is to approve items 82 and 83. All those in favor say, raise your hand. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilmember Bailey, did you want to say something?
I'm sorry. Very briefly, I just wanted to credit both the council member Fuentes and the applicant for the tenant protections that they've rolled in. Those are very important. We do not want to be displacing people, especially from older apartments like this, and I very much appreciate the kind of graduated schedule, the other incentives, the deposits, those kinds of things. We've seen that more and more, and I appreciate it, and always look favorably upon those elements. And again, I just wanted the half of the units being affordable. Again, it's just such a critical gain for the city. We really can't, given our housing affordability situation, we just can't pass up the opportunity to get affordable housing into our community as quickly as possible. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember. All those in favor, raise your hand. All opposed, and one abstention. Members, the motion passes on a vote of 9-0 to one abstention, with one abstention, and which is Councilmember Allison Alter and Councilmember Ryan Alter being absent. So the motion passes on all three readings. Members, before I do that, I want to say something real quickly.